live. Uh-oh. Did I just close my whole computer window? Oh my gosh, I did. All right, let me fix this. Drag this over here. How's everybody doing today? We'll just give it a second here. I just completely screwed up my computer. That's not right either. The other phone's going off. I want to talk a little bit today about broker fraud. I just got done being on the Snorlord channel and got the old brain ticking a little bit. Why can't I get back in there? History. Here we go. There we go. We got the old computer restored here now. There we go. We got the old computer. So today I want to talk about broker fraud. Let's see who's in the house here. Benedetto, buddy, we're great. It's time to talk about Bill, the double broker. No, Bill books freight under his MC. Then Bill actually hauls the freight under his MC. Be more like Bill. That's the thumbnail there. Probably got cut off a little bit there. I couldn't fit it all in. Jerome Jones says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jerome Jones. Grafton in the house. Thanks for coming in, buddy. Just like I said, I was just on a Snorlord show, and a lot of things kind of were going through my mind here. We touched on broker fraud just a little bit, and I have a lot of thoughts on that. Once again, it's probably going to be a whole lot of things that people disagree with and don't like and get their feelings hurt, but I don't care. Let's do it anyways. Dan's Hotshot Adventure says, Bill, be crazy. Book and haul the freight yourself? Yeah, that's be like Bill. Be like Bill. Grade A Transportation, good morning, DIY and chat. Good morning to you, sir. So broker, fraud. The first thing we got to do is admit something that we don't want to admit. And that is the fact that there is just as much fraud being perpetrated and committed by carriers that there is by brokers. That is the absolute truth, and it might be uncomfortable. People might not like it. It is the absolute truth. So there's plenty of fraud to go around on both sides. 100%. Craig James says, Richmond, Virginia to Lexington, Kentucky. Getting paid but empty. Oh, good for you. Good for you. I don't like how YouTube puts this little heart emoji in the bottom right-hand corner of the comments section here, because I can't click on the three little dots there because there's a heart emoji in my way. Anyway, so plenty of fraud, plenty of blame to go around, right? And it's going to sound like probably a little bit that I'm standing up for brokers. I'm not. I'm trying to tell you the truth here, which is sometimes uncomfortable. So let's start with, what's going on. So in the trucking industry right now, we all know fraud is absolutely rampant. You have phony brokers. You have brokers that their whole business model is take loads off the load board, double broker them, put them back out there. A lot of them are not United States based. They have no intention of paying you. There's plenty of carriers out there booking freight and brokering out to other trucking companies. Now, I watched a lot of videos on people talking about double brokering, and most of them could not be more wrong. What double brokering is. It is not a trucking company booking a load and brokering out to somebody else. The MC number is what's key here, okay? Freight must travel on an MC number that it is tendered to. And then people say, well, every load is double brokered because the shipper brokers it to the broker and the broker. No, a shipper tenders it to a broker. The shipper does not broker freight. They tender it to a broker. They have that right as a shipper, okay? They give it to the broker. Then the broker brokers it to the trucking company. That's a single brokerage transaction, right? When the broker brokers it to a trucking company, they broker it to that trucking company's MC number, right? Now, if the trucking company does anything with it other than that, it puts it on any other MC number, that is illegal unless they have a written agreement with the broker. So The trucking company's broker or MC number is 459, and but the trucking company has a brokerage, right? A lot of people think that trucking company can take and broker that freight out. They cannot, because the brokerage will have a different MC number. That's not double brokering. That's brokering with no brokerage authority. That's illegally brokering. That trucking company with that MC number cannot do anything with that freight other than haul it. They can't give it to their brokerage and their brokerage broker it out. That's a different MC number. That is illegal. So anyway, there's double brokering, there's triple brokering, there's a lot of brokering with no authority. A lot of that going on. A broker can give freight to another broker under a co-broker agreement. Most of the time, that is not what happened. This is straight up double brokering. So we got plenty of nonsense going on here. How do we get a grip on all that? The first part is understanding that it's all over. It's on both sides, right? So we have things like carrier 411, highway. Highway was a good concept in the beginning. It was supposed to compile information, a lot like carrier 411 does, and link names to different companies, addresses, phone numbers, blah blah blah. Well, what it ended up doing, yes, it's pointed out a lot of fraud, a lot of the fraudsters, but it's also ended up hurting a lot of the good carriers. Most of your smaller carriers out there, medium-sized carriers, good carriers, most carriers worth their salt also have a brokerage. All right, now they can be at a completely separate address, completely separate phone number, and highway will still link the two together via names, via a lot of different things. That has happened to me. It's made it in some cases very difficult to book freight, even for companies that we've hauled for many times and for a long period of time over the last several years. And a lot of times it involves a whole lot of conversation and work and vetting to be able to haul that freight, and sometimes they just straight up say no. The irony is most of these companies, like I book a lot of freight with some of my favorite people to haul for are other trucking companies, right? The irony is they also have a brokerage in addition to their trucks. So at times I'll play that card. I'm like, would you broker a load to yourself? You guys have a brokerage, and mostly they've never thought of that, right? So it involves a whole lot of conversations. You're successful in about 80 to 90% of them, and some people just don't have a brain and don't care to do the extra homework. So anyway, it's punished a lot of the good carriers out there and makes doing business hard. Unintended consequence, right? Everything is full of unintended consequences. That's one of them. Carrier 411, they don't give a damn. They're brutal. They just compile information. They'll block your phone number. They'll block your email. All kinds of things. And as far as I'm concerned, they're near, that libel slander type thing, where you do get a chance to respond, but they're the judge, jury, and executioner. And I don't think a lot of research is done to find out if it's all true or not. So, these things that were meant to eliminate a lot of this or minimize it have turned out to be whole other problems. And then you have ELD companies. See, everybody's sharing information. You have ELD companies sharing information. In my case, on a company I had years ago that's been closed, and they're still using that against me. So my brokerage is at a different address, different phone number, but it's still my name tied to it. So they tie all that together. At any rate, that stuff really hasn't been as effective as it should have been. And then it's all subject to the people that are using it. If a broker's using Go Highway, they have this information, well, then what do they do with it? Do they do their homework? Or do they just categorically say no to everything? So there's a problem. Fraud that's an industry that's not being talked about, like it's real popular to blame brokers for everything. But there's plenty of other blame to go around. There's plenty of other situations that people don't think of, and one of them is a shipper-receiver relationship. You take a brokerage like Surge Transportation that's in bankruptcy, and carriers have gone to the shippers to try to collect on the freight bills that Surge did not pay. So these shippers know that Surge hasn't paid the carriers, yet they continue to tender freight to a broker like Surge or likewise, to continue to tender the carriers that haven't been paid. So how much of the fraud? That's to me that's a fraudulent transaction. There, you're knowingly tendering freight to a broker who you know hasn't paid the carriers, and you know they haven't paid the carriers because the carriers are coming after you, and you're upset about it. So let's not let them off the hook. That's a problem too. Um, Typically, people, being upset, screaming to the government for help. Oh, broker transparency, this and that. We got a little bit of that. There's that new rule that says, okay, they're supposed to make it harder on brokers to say, if you haven't paid the carriers, if you're short paying them, if you're this or that, you're going to get shut down. Well, we just had a company, Flexport, come in and take over Convoy, who's all upside down in a bunch of payments, and resume doing business when they have a whole bunch of freight bills that haven't been paid. So how did that new regulation work out? It didn't do a damn thing it was intended to do, did it? So we got to stop turning the government to hell. No new laws, because they didn't even enforce the old ones. We could probably start with that. You have, Convoy that committed fraud up to the very end and telling carriers, we're going to pay you, we're going to pay you. You can read about that in one of the recent overdrive.com articles, what they did to a carrier, stringing them along right up to the day they closed the doors. And then they start reopening, and guess what? They owe all this money in back freight bills, and people rush to sign up again. Whose fault is that? Carriers got to accept a little bit of fault. And this one guy, they owed him $160,000. They came in and sweet talked him. He was one of the first ones to sign back up to haul for Convoy. So we have to stop doing that. We have to stop doing that. It's stupid. To me, that's fraudulent. So there's fraud everywhere you look at it. We're just not seeing all sides of it. Um, people want broker transparency, right? I've done a video explaining all the reasons why it's not a good idea or it won't work. People haven't thought it through. We got some of it. We got a good taste of it. Everybody knows about the article of where they disclosed Convoy and their freight rates and then what they were paying the carrier. We got a huge taste of broker transparency, didn't we? What happened? Nobody cared. The carriers are running back to sign up for Convoy to sign up for the same damn thing again. Even though they're all butthurt that Convoy, made more on the load that they did. Right back, quick to sign back up, aren't they? So these things are proven time and time again that they either don't work or the unintended consequences are as bad or worse than what the original problem was. We have shippers. Now, something a lot of people won't agree with or understand is that, brokers set these appointments. We can't make the deliveries, right? A lot of times these appointments are set by a shipper and receiver, or they request a certain appointment and the receiver says, no, you're going to take this appointment. We need to hear, okay, well, all right, regardless of whoever did it, right? Didn't we get a law, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago about coercion? About nobody, a broker or your carrier, or nobody can coerce you to break the law for failure to violate hours of service. Well, they set you an appointment that's 730 miles in a 10-hour period and won't adjust it. You get there and they hit you with a late fee. That is the definition of coercion. A financial penalty for refusing to break the law or what have you. That's textbook coercion. So where's the government in coming after them for violating the rule that they made? You see how these rules don't do a damn bit of good? Because we all know they're only really against us. So we don't need any more broker transparency rules. We don't need, until they start enforcing the rules we have. And that's the only thing that's going to fix this problem. And I'm going to explain to you some of the rules that will help fix this. Number one, we obviously, at this point, because of, where did that message go? Let me see that. I missed a message here. Yeah, I missed it. Okay. where was I? Okay, we obviously have an excess of carriers, excess of volume. This has been done in other areas where you put a moratorium on new entrants. We need about a 6 month to a 1 year period of no new entrants till they get this thing sorted out. There needs to be a lot of this started to happen when off-site audits came about for new entrants. Back when I came into it, I got my new entrant audit. This very intimidating person showed up to my house with a 45 and says, "I want to see your records." I knew they were coming. I had it already. But they actually sat down and went through my records physically. Then they went outside and they went through my truck. They asked me a crap ton of questions. They looked all around at everything to make sure that I was legit and running a legit business. That does not happen anymore. The advent of off-site audits is part of the beginning of what happened here, because you can just do any old thing and send in any old manufactured paperwork for the most part and pass your new entrant audit. And then you'll never see them again unless you are in some kind of big trouble, right? On-site audits need to be returned. I don't care if they say, "Oh, there's too many, we can't keep up." Well, then stop that and do your job. Now you're saying, "Well, you just said no new rules, don't turn to the government the answers." They have to enforce what they made is the first step. No new ones, because they're not going to enforce them anyway. But there needs to come back to enforce the ones we have to get a grip. They don't enforce the rules are selectively enforced, right? They don't enforce the no English thing. They come across these CDL factories where people can buy a CDL. They shut them down. Does anybody really go to jail? Do they ever go to these drivers? They know who the drivers are that receive these CDLs. Do they yank the CDLs 10,000 at a time? No. No. If they were gained fraudulently, they need to be revoked. And then you can go back to CDL school, take the test in a legitimate fashion, maybe get restored your CDL. All of these things need to happen to get a grip. Brokerages, no audits. They are not audited. There's no new entrant audit for a brokerage. And if there was, it needs to be on site. They're not going to travel to Pakistan to audit a new brokerage. There's a guy on YouTube, Sage, everybody knows who he is, explained one time how trucking is technically part of national security. There's some kind of section in there where trucking is vital to national security as part of it. Why are we outsourcing then part of our national security to other countries that most of them are largely hostile to us? Why are we allowing that? That is complete nonsense. If we had on-site auditing, this could be gotten a grip on. We could get rid of most of that. And I as a trucking company have to have a physical presence here, right? How are you letting a company from Serbia start a trucking company over here with no physical presence? And I know they're doing it because back when trucking was hot, I was getting emails. "Hey, I'm from Ethiopia. I want to start I still have the email somewhere. I could find it. I'm from Ethiopia. I want to start a trucking company in the U.S. Can you help me? I want to hire you to help me set all this up." Hell no. How are you road testing drivers from Ethiopia? How are you laying eyes on equipment? How are you managing your drug testing? How are you doing any of these things from the other side of the world? You have no physical presence here. You have no right to operate that kind of a business here, where it's public safety. Now you could say, "Oh, you can't be against them. You can't be prejudiced. You can't be that." It's public safety, folks. That's the kind of person that has a truck with no brakes that plows down a mountain in Colorado with poorly adjusted brakes. The driver can't understand what the signs mean that said escape ramps ahead, so he kills a whole bunch of people. Hopefully it wasn't your family. I don't ever want it to be mine. We're talking, if we're serious about the safety rules that we make, then we have to be serious about the rules that go with them. Okay? So you can't run a company directly involved with public safety from halfway and national security from halfway around the world with no physical presence here. That's just not right. I can't even operate my business from FMCSA with a PO box. Sorry, people keep blowing up my phone here. I better maybe take some of these calls eventually. Anyway, on-site audits. and demanding a physical presence here is a great first step. Um, there was a broker in a show I was previously on talking about they through highway can see when a company is operating from overseas and they won't give them loads. That's a great first step. That's a great first step. Why are trucking CDL schools not audited? A couple times a year, should they plant somebody in a class to go through this school to see what really happens? Um, oh, we got some comments here. Let me go back to the comments for a second. Cash is King, are you a dispatch service? How much you paying? If only I could find a dispatch service. There you go. And you're talking about a government here that when the time came to do this last round of bills, couldn't tell the difference between what a dispatch service is and a brokerage. They write the definitions, for crying out loud. Anybody with half a brain could figure this out. Now, are some of them operating, a dispatch service is, technically operating as a brokerage? Abso-freaking-lutely. So then guess what? Dunzo. And if you were in the United States, they could enforce that. They can't enforce any rules when the person's over in Sri Lanka.
Hello, Moto.
Dispatch service. They call about 10 times a day. Cents per mile says, I got one for you. Icon Transportation, but you get a rate con from Majestic Company. I'm gonna let me write that one down. I'm gonna search that when we're done here. Hustle Bone says, brokers blowing you up now? Yeah, they are. They are. Oh, Michael retracted. Skinny Peters, I had transparency. My dad transitioned into a woman when I was 12. Well, that explains a lot, Skinny Peters. That explains a lot. Tolga in the house. Michael says, only in the trucking business are brokers not fiduciaries. Instead of brokering the freight and holding the funds in trust for overhead and bonuses, and sometimes refuse to pay. Now, here's the thing. There are rules on that. They are not enforced. They are not enforced. Brokers have become more than they were ever supposed to be in this industry. Okay? That's part of the problem is we let it happen. So broker is, their job is to say, Mr. Shipper, meet Mr. Carrier. I'm the middleman. I'll facilitate this transaction. They are not supposed to process over shortage and damage claims because they don't take possession of the freight. They do not own that freight. That is between the shipper and the carrier. But how often do you see them act as a middleman? It's out of convenience. You're acting outside the law out of convenience. There should be a stop put to that, right? There is a direct relationship in every broker transaction between the carrier and shipper, but we have backed away from that. The broker is a middleman. They are there to make arrangements. They're like a dating service, okay? The bill of lading clearly establishes a relationship between you and the shipper. CDLs put our governor in jail. Okay, what'd your governor do? Rob E. Hansen says, where the hell is the like button? It's around here, so it's right below the video. I'd suggest you hit it. Oh, $5 super chat. Appreciate that, Fate Trucking. Business before YouTube. Sorry, I didn't know you were choosing YouTube over business. I saw your text. I will return that phone call here shortly. USA gives tax credits to foreigners who start businesses, especially if they want to drive a truck. That does not exempt people from safety and following the same rules as the rest. That does not mean they get to come in here and buy a CDL or operate with a CDL if you can't speak the language, or a whole host of other things that I am obligated to do. Amar's Combos, I just joined the stream. Okay, thank you. Nothing better than a good hole in the bathroom. Well, hey, that's you live your life how you want to. CDN Freight Broker says, cool vertical view. Broker shippers consignees should have to take bill of lading course or call it logistics course before you can ship. Yes, your bill of lading for every load, if it's the straight bill of lading, uniform straight bill of lading, contains so much information that people have no idea about. And trying to get Will Allen from AWA, we're going to talk about that when he can come on. Get your company name on that bill of lading. If nothing else, if they don't print it on there, you sign it on there when you sign your signature. Get your name on the bill of lading. Someday you might be glad you did. Do I have a claims department? You're looking at them. You're absolutely looking at them. Have had to handle a few of those things. FMCSA should be held accountable to there's a lot of foreign drivers that can't speak English. I mean, it's their rule. It's their rule. It's not my rule. That's FMCSA's rule. So why, how are we selectively enforcing that? CDN, do you have a claims department? I am the claims department. I am the sales department. I am the safety department. I am dispatch. I am everything here, and I do all of those things regularly. George Wilson, yes, the DOT. Incidentally, CDN, join in on Monday if you can. I got some fellers coming on. We're gonna try to do some live sales calls. Just the first contact calls. So, love to hear what you have to say about that, because I know you do that every day. So, love you to be a part of that. George Wilson says, yes, the DOT or FMCSA should plant spies in all trucking schools and companies. I don't know about companies. That's kind of like espionage-ish type. But if you have people that are, the schools are giving out a government permit, right? A CDL is essentially a government-regulated permit. So wouldn't a DOT or FMCSA want to be in there to see if they're upholding the rules and the testing that they themselves set forth? I think they do. I think they should. Hello from New Zealand. Well, hello to you. Thanks for stopping in. Dud Hemsworth the fourth. Have we had 1 through 3 in here? Dud for the win. Thanks for coming in. Gary Bates says, channel member says, sucks. You mean I suck? Damn it, Gary. You're hardcore. Steering Wheel says, hello, gentlemen. For maximum freight satisfaction, only the top best carriers speak exclusively to me. You must be honored, my friend. Premier Loadboard Freight's our opportunity. There you go. Sterling Wheel, contact him for 12,000 dispatch service. Trucking Coach, are those calls you are rejecting about customer freight? Most likely. Most likely. When the shipper calls the carrier about a claim, carrier declines the claim, shipper goes to broker and expects broker to pay claim or lose them as a customer. Only if something claim will my major claim laws apply. That's something that we've talked about a little bit. The shipper going to the broker and expecting them to pay is because the shippers are not informed. Nobody understands the way these things are supposed to work because they've been so damn diluted and convoluted, and people acting outside of what they're legally supposed to or ought to do. That's how we got here. There needs to be a little bit of a reset button. And a high level of education. And then people move in and out of these positions, have no training or education, and the fraud gets, continued in perpetuity. So, if carrier declines a claim, there is recourse on that. It's insurance, right? Other frauds that are being perpetrated are carriers. I have 10 trucks. I'm going to insure one of them and put an insurance card, that same insurance card, in all 10 trucks. Because once you get to a certain point, you get a carrier's insurance card that does not have the VIN number. It just says all vehicles insured under this policy. So I have that from time to time, depending on what number we're at. But so it makes that easier, or Photoshop or whatever. And then the same with the cargo policy. We insure one truck with a cargo policy, and we put that certificate in all the trucks. It's this fraud. I think insurance companies could probably do a little bit of investigating on that. Nobody is doing their due diligence. That's part of the problem. Is due diligence is just out the window. So until we do that, it's not going to change anything. Snow Rider says, hey friend, best trucking dispatch for you. 12,001 USA certified premium load boards, free CDLs. Can I get a piece of that? Can I get in on that? It's about time we start making some money around here. Wheelburner says, good morning, Adam and Jack. Morning, Wheelburner. CDN Freight Broker says, got it. Great live, got to go. Watch a replay. Okay, see if you can join in Monday. Yeah, join in Monday. We're going to do some live sales calls. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to sit there and be quiet and listen to the master's work. We'll try and learn something. Humberto the trucking guy, morning. Looks like things are kind of turning around for Humberto there after his truck fire. So that's good. Go ahead, hit the like button if you don't mind. So the long and short of it, plenty of fraud to go around. Why are we only picking on one kind of fraud with the double brokering and just letting all this other fraud slide? It kind of seems like that's the only kinds of frauds that people want to talk about. You have to fix. You can't just fix one and let the other ones go, because then the other ones take the place and become bigger problems. Eventually, we lose control. So we got to get them all, and the only way to do it is just hit the pause button for a second. Hit the pause button for a second. Oh, with both feet in houses. Hey, all. Hope all is well. Thanks for coming in. With both feet. Hope all is well with you. I think I have to, against my will here, cut this short. I got some things here I got to handle. Humberto says, all good, Adam. Thanks. Well, awesome. I'm going to have to run. Got some things here that need my attention. So, everybody, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. We'll do some more pop-up lives here in the future. Try to stay closer in touch. But everybody, take care. Stop in Monday for that live sales calls. We'll see you then.